I can't believe my doula baby's having a baby. This is pretty exciting. Remembering back to when you were just a little teeny tiny squishy little baby. And now you're going to bring us another one. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the CCDS Doula Collaboration Podcast, where birth and postpartum professionals come together to learn, grow, and support one another. I'm your host, Melissa Harley, a doula trainer and passionate advocate for the power of birth and postpartum care. This podcast is a space for authentic conversations with doulas and other perinatal professionals, from those just starting out to seasoned experts shaping our field. We'll hear from those in my circles, industry leaders, and community change makers. And I hope that you'll find inspiration, education, connection, and collaboration here. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get to it. Hi, Abby. How are you? I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I actually just woke up from my second pregnancy nap of the day.
Is that helping?
It is. I've been really tired this week, so I've been very lucky for the extra rest I've been able to get.
Oh, yeah. Early pregnancy is hard. So, You guys, today is a really special day because I am having this conversation with my sweet niece, Abbey, who is newly pregnant. Abbey, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Abbey, and I am my Aunt Melissa's niece.
Mm-hmm.
I am 23 years old. I currently live in North Alabama, and I'm also a newlywed. I've been married since November 26th, and we found out we were pregnant at the beginning of January. So we're very excited for our little new addition, and we're excited for everybody overall.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, it's especially special to me. I've actually gotten tears about it several times, telling other people about it, because the crazy thing is that as a doula for the last 23 years, you were my first doula baby.
I know.
That's so wild.
It's so crazy to think about, honestly, and even just growing up with, you and Mom both being doulas, and how close Alyssa and I were growing up, and from birthing babies on the bottom of the stairs with our baby dolls, and here I am actually married and pregnant.
It's really surreal for sure, and definitely surreal for those of us that are kind of in your life as the older generation, but just the next generation really starting to create their own families. It's very surreal.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's been very surreal for me, especially with Mom suffering her infertility issues, and I was so worried that was going to pass down onto me, and to be able to get pregnant very early on in our marriage, just after starting to try, it's definitely been a huge blessing.
I remember when you were born, and I actually tell the story often, actually, in my doula trainings when I'm training new doulas, because it's there was the catalyst for me becoming a doula, really, after being with your mom and her going through her infertility struggles. And then whenever you and your sister were born that day, I say this in my doula trainings, I felt like the sun was rising, the birds were chirping, the heavens were singing. It was just the most amazing, beautiful thing. My first birth as a doula, and really as a family member, but after years and years of your mom and dad really wanting to have babies, and that was pretty amazing. And when you came out, you were perky, and your mom, I'm going to have your mom on the podcast to talk about this, but I think you were over 6 pounds or something, 5 something. So you were a nice little chunky twin. And then 30 minutes later, your sister was born. And I had to, between you and your sister, I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, but I actually had to leave the room because I was sobbing so much. Your mom and dad were enjoying their moment, and I had to excuse myself because you were born, and I was just so completely and totally overwhelmed with the moment that I had to leave and go compose myself, because I got a new niece that day, but your mom became a mom, and that was pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, 23 years later. And how does it feel to be pregnant? How are you feeling? Let's start there.
Yeah. I have been very blessed. I feel truly, truly very blessed that I've had no morning sickness. I don't think I've had really any of the bad symptoms of pregnancy. I mean, the really only reason why I knew I was pregnant or thought I was pregnant was because I was a couple of days late for my period. I was taking ovulation test strips, and I had been taking them twice a day in the morning and evening for probably about 4 or 5 months, and never one of them tested positive.
Wow.
And this was before our marriage, and we were still dating and everything. And we knew we wanted to start a family, and so we wanted to see if we were going to have any trouble, because I knew my mom did. And one day on January 8th, my birthday actually, I took a test strip in the middle of the afternoon. I came home from work early that day because it was my birthday, and it tested positive. A couple weeks later, I take a pregnancy test, and it was positive. After months of taking them, I've literally spent $100 on ovulation tests to take them every day for 4 to 5 months for them not to test positive, a single one of them. And then after we were married and we're in a good spot, all of a sudden I take it on my birthday of all days and it was positive. It truly felt like a sign from God.
Yeah.
And so we are just beyond blessed that even happened and that we're here in this situation of our first real month of actually trying to get pregnant. We got pregnant.
I think that brings up some really interesting kind of things to think about. So what I heard you say was that your mom's infertility gave you some anxiety and you were a little worried about it. How do you feel like that played into it?
I feel like it played a huge role into me worrying about it because I was worrying about it before we were even married. Before we were truly ready to start having kids, I was already going to the doctors to let them know. They were doing ultrasounds to see if I had cysts on my ovaries. They were doing blood work to test me for PCOS. They were checking for reasons to figure out why I could be infertile and then why I wasn't ovulating. And I was doing all of those things before we were even married, before we were even truly ready to have kids, just because I wanted to know before I was married if I was going to be able to or not. Just so I could set the expectations for a marriage. We went into the marriage knowing that I may not be able to ovulate and that there was no specific reason as to why. My nurse practitioner was going to put me on Clomid whenever we decided to try. And we were going to try in the beginning of February to start taking the Clomid to see if that would, my levels are, however that works for the ovulation, to see if I would start ovulating with the Clomid. But we didn't need it. God literally answered our prayers right before we were supposed to start medical intervention.
Well, and it kind of reminds me how I actually I've had clients in the past where they were trying to have babies, and then they just said, "What? Maybe this isn't in our plan," and they completely changed plans. And then they found out they were pregnant. After one of my families I can think of, they went on a big vacation, and then they got pregnant. And after a really long time of trying, so it kind of reminds me of that because you were also planning a wedding and doing a lot of other things in that time. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if your body just needed that peace.
Yeah, it needed the wedding ring on the finger. It needed for all the wedding stress to be away. Yeah, for us to finally be like, yep, it's time.
It's time. That's so exciting. So how was it receiving the news, sharing the news with Uriah? What was that like?
It was so much fun. It was a Wednesday, and my periods are really regular. Literally 29 days in the morning, I start my period. And it's been that ever since I took my IUD out. 29 days, I got my period. And that Wednesday morning, I woke up and I did not have my period. And I was like, okay, maybe it's no big deal, whatever it's like. And I remember I was at work, and so I was on my lunch break, and I grabbed a pregnancy test, and I went to the bathroom, and I peed on a stick in the bathroom, and I went back out, and I waited for the couple minutes to see if the line would appear. And I was not expecting it to at all because I've taken countless pregnancy tests, and they've never been positive. Why would this one be positive? And I actually have a coworker who is, I believe she's getting ready to pop. She's already something weeks pregnant, so she's getting ready to go. And I had her come in, and I was like, is that a line? Is there 2 lines there? And she came in the bathroom, and she's jumping up and down, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is happening. What do I do? What do I do? And at first I was just going to play it cool. I wasn't going to leave work early, but my husband works nights. And so this was a Wednesday night. I wasn't going to be able to get to see him until Friday morning. I can't keep this news. I can't keep this news from my mom. I can't keep it from everybody. I had to tell him first. I have to. And so I left work early that day, and on my way home, I stopped by CVS, and I grabbed 3 pregnancy tests, 3 different brands, just to make sure. Because that weekend, I was at your house, and I had taken a test, and it was negative, which is why also, when I took that test on Wednesday, I was like, oh, it's not going to be positive. I already took one. It was negative. And then I got home, and I peed on all those sticks, and every single one of them, there was a line, there was 2 lines, there was a cross, it said pregnant on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And I'm in the bathroom sobbing my eyes out. And Uriah comes around the corner, and he's like, oh my gosh, who died? And I was like, no one died. And I'm sobbing. And he comes into the bathroom, and he's like, no way. He starts to lose it. He's crying. I'm crying. And it was just a beautiful experience because we thought that I couldn't get pregnant. And there was just the one time where I ovulated last month. And here we are. Oh my gosh, it was so surreal. And I even remember when I told Mom, I was on the phone with her, and that was even before I told Uriah because I can't keep anything from Mom. So I was actually in a car getting ready to drive off, and I call mom, and she's at your house. And so I'm on FaceTime with her, and I'm like, Mom, look, there's 2 lines. And she's like, hold on, let me get my glasses. And she's trying to find her glasses, and bless her heart. And then she's like, oh my gosh, there's 2 lines. And then she's running out telling you. And oh my gosh, it was such a beautiful experience. I wish I would have recorded it. I feel like that's my only thing that I'm sad about, is like I don't have that memory. That's just like a memory in my head. But I was ugly crying. I would not have been cute if I recorded it anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, and if your mom decides to come on the podcast at some point, well, we can talk to her about what that was like for her.
Yeah.
But I can speak what it was like for me in that moment, because your mom came around the corner. She was staying at my house for a few days. It was like the emotion was panic and joy mixed together. And she was already crying, and she just was like, Abby's pregnant. But there was this panic, and like, because the first several weeks, the first trimester, it's a little bit of a nervous kind of piece for some people, and, you know, your concerns about infertility. How many weeks are you now?
I'm 9 weeks and 4 days. So my turnover day is on Sunday or Saturday.
And how are you? Are you feeling pretty good about the pregnancy, that everything looks good doctor-wise? And
everything looks good doctor-wise. We went for our ultrasound at our 8-week appointment, and that was our first ultrasound, the first time we got to see baby. And they did say that baby was measuring a little bit smaller, but we're still on track. Like, everything else looks fine. We took an at-home gender reveal test with the sneak peek, but we're still not 100% certain that that's accurate.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about that at-home test. Is it a pee in the cup?
It was like a device. It's a device that goes onto the side of your arm, and it like grabs your blood out of your arm. It's like a weird thing, because like the scar I had from it, like, wasn't like a needle. It was like a circle. I just pushed it on my arm. It vacuum sucked it a little bit, and then blood just flowed into the tube. And it hurt at all. More so the pressure from like having to hold it on there hurt more than like the actual needle stick itself.
How did your extended family, in-laws, how did they all take the news?
When we actually went to go and tell my in-laws, it wasn't that long. Once we found out, when we came over, I was like, we kind of make it like nonchalant, like telling like we were coming, but they were like, like, why are you guys coming over? You don't just come over for no reason. And then I was like, well, dang, maybe we should just come over just to hang out with them. But they thought something was up. And so they thought that either we were pregnant or that we were moving to Tallahassee. It was around Valentine's Day. And I had like a little heart-shaped box. And I put our digital pregnancy test in it with a baby spoon in it. Whenever my in-laws announced that they were pregnant with Uriah and his twin brother to his grandmother, they announced it with the baby spoon. And so we stuck the little baby spoon in there for them, just like as a sentiment, because they did it for their grandmother. And so we wanted to do it just for them because it'd be cute.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And they were all very excited. Very, very, very excited. And then when I was telling Alyssa was actually with Ashley and Hank, and it was very funny because it was that time, like, we were just there and I had shown her my negative pregnancy test. And then for me to come around and it was positive, they were completely in shock, and they were just so beyond excited. I've really talked to Alyssa like every week now, like since I've been pregnant, just excited, just talk about baby stuff and like, what are we going to do? Nursery themes, baby names, etc.
So for all of the listeners that don't know, my daughter's name is Alyssa, and Abbey and Alyssa are about 11 months apart, and they grew up together super close, like another sibling almost.
Mm-hmm.
And the other folks that she's mentioned, the other names, those are more cousins. Thankfully, this group of young 20s, they're actually really family oriented, and they love being around each other and supporting each other and celebrating each other. So that's pretty exciting. I think Alyssa is really excited about being an aunt. And I was just talking to my husband the other day, and I was like, Aunt Alyssa, that's a lot for a little one to say, but it's going to be cute.
Auntie Alyssa.
Auntie Alyssa. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
It does feel weird being the first, just like how you were the first one to have a baby. I feels weird to be the first one, especially because nobody else is going to be ready anytime soon. And so I'm like, how much older are my kids going to be before, they have friends, before they have cousins? Hopefully somebody gets it together. give my nieces or nephews.
You want some cousins for your baby.
I do. I don't want them to be lonely.
No. Well, if you think about it like this, Alyssa's my second baby, and she has cousins. So there's time. There's time. For sure. And there's a lot of them. So I think you're going to get some cousins in there at some point. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on was, do you remember when you were my workshop assistant at the doula training?
I do. That was a fun, how many, was it just like a weekend I was with you?
Yeah, it was just, I think I trained like during the week and you came up. It was a big workshop. Yeah, that's right. There were like 30 people in that workshop. And I was just like, I think I need a little help and assistance. And you were such a good assistant. You're right there with me with teaching and making sure that I had the things that I needed when I had to be presenting and keeping me in check, watching time, all those good things. So what did you think about that?
I remember that. I don't want to say like more like preparedness because you're never really actually truly prepared to give birth. But I do feel like I already had already knowledge that's going to help me with my experiences and even like help Uriah to help mentally prepare him, to help him tell him what to do and how what are the things like my body's going to be going through and how do I breathe and just all the things. But I don't want to say I feel prepared. I mean, I don't really feel prepared yet, but I just have like a leg up.
Well, one of the things that I say to my childbirth ed students or doula clients is that there's a reason that pregnancy is 40 plus weeks. And that's more than just growing the baby. That's also growing you into being prepared for the birth and getting ready to be a parent, which is kind of neat, so you need some time. And the other thing, if you think about it, like often whenever you get pregnant, you pee on the stick and you call your friends and family and you use the words, I'm pregnant, right? And that's that your mom came out and she said, Abby's pregnant. And that was how she described it and how you likely describe it in the early parts. At some point in the pregnancy, there's a little bit of growth and a shift that happens, which may happen already and may take some more time. But that I'm pregnant starts to turn into, we're going to have a baby, or I'm going to have a baby, and you start to really connect with the baby piece of it. Maybe when the baby really starts to move or becomes a little bit more real even so. And you just stop kind of referring to it as I'm pregnant. And then it kind of is like, we're going to have a baby. And then at some point in the pregnancy, a lot of people will shift again and they'll shift from I'm going to have a baby to I'm going to be a mom and start to really connect with what that means. And so if you're wherever you are in the spectrum, just give yourself time because it takes a little bit of time to kind of get to there. And then some people don't get the I'm going to be a mom until they have their baby in arms and they're like, wow, I'm a mom. And what does this mean? And now you're letting me go home with this baby. And now I'm going to have to care for this baby. But the good news is you have a lot of support system around. Sounds like with the in-laws too. So
agreed. Agreed. I feel very lucky for my very long list of my support system. Very blessed. And even on both sides, not everyone has a great mother-in-law. And I have a fantastic mother-in-law who supports our marriage, who supports the baby. And we're very blessed, and everybody on our side of the family, that big Canadian family, we're very beyond blessed for our very huge support system. But to add to the where are you in that stage? I have already been giving myself affirmations, because I have been very I know that my body's capable of doing this. I know that this is what I was designed to do, but it still is very nerve wracking, especially about hearing all the horror stories about people getting birth. I mean, I talked to somebody who had a 4th degree tear, all the way down to her glute. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I would ever give birth again after that happened to me. And how can I prevent that? And so I've just been going back and telling myself, my body was designed for this. I'm going to be a mother. We are having a baby. This is a great thing. My body was designed for this. I keep telling myself that because I do get a little bit nervous about having to give birth aspect. But I feel just telling myself that I was made for this just makes me feel a lot better. We were literally designed to do this.
Yeah. And everything happens for a reason within the whole process, which is kind of neat. So this is just one little example that came to my mind. But after the baby's born and they put the baby on your tummy, and the baby actually can do what we call the breast crawl, or they can just do a self-attachment to feed if we leave them alone and we kind of give them space and let them do it. But as they're scooching their body to nurse for the first time, they actually are pushing their little legs and feet down on your abdomen. And at the same time, they're massaging your uterus after birth so that it starts to go back into its normal size and it prevents hemorrhage.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Everything happens for a reason, and the different things work together on purpose. So it's pretty neat. I'm so excited to hear you're using some affirmations, because I think that makes a really big difference. I think the more you say those things, put it on a Post-it note and put it on your bathroom mirror. I'm going to be a good mom. Whether you believe it or not now, you definitely will get there the more you see it and say it. So that's exciting. I'm glad you're doing that. You have time. So 9 weeks, you have time to think about the birth. And my hope is that if you feel up to it, that we can follow you through this pregnancy on the podcast. And so have you on, every couple of months and just see how you're doing. And just like on the front end, if you're okay with it, tell us, what do you think about, other than kind of the fear that you mentioned and, just kind of thinking about the birth, have you put much thought into what you're thinking about for your birth?
Absolutely. It's quite literally all I can think about. And I just know, I want to definitely have you and mom there. But I definitely want to have as natural as possible with the least amount of medical intervention as possible. Again, my body is designed for this. My body knows what to do. I do get a little bit concerned with the OBGYN office that I am seeing. They're not very natural friendly. I know someone who used to work at the hospital where I plan to deliver at on the labor and delivery unit, and they always just said that the doctors weren't very natural friendly. And so I just know that they'll obviously listen to me, but I hope that they'll listen to me. But I definitely want to go tour it, and I want to speak more with the physicians and see how they'll be about it, because I want the least medical intervention as possible. I want to do natural. I would love, I don't know, I think about wanting to do a tub birth, and I know that probably hospital won't do that. I've tried to look at a couple birthing centers. We did tour one, but it was very price taggy. So I've just been contemplating a lot of different things, but I definitely want to do the most natural way as possible. I don't want an epidural. I don't want Pitocin. I want to labor naturally. I want to focus on breath work, and I want to have relaxing music, and I want the lights to be dim, and I don't want to have cervical exams unless they're necessary. And I don't know, those are the things I know that I want, but I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to, those things are going to be able to be accommodated to me.
And I think it's about finding your voice and being able to say yes, please, and no, thank you. And the balance, too, of being able to sometimes shift and change as things go on if something comes up that needs attention. So when you're thinking about the care provider for the pregnancy, at the end of the day, I think you'll know inside if they're the right ones for you, because something will tell you, as you're going to the visits and connecting with them and asking them the questions. And we can work on questions that you can take in there to maybe ask the hard questions, like, how do you support my goals and the things that I want to do? And in what cases would we need to make a change in plans and things like that? And so I think it'll become more clear as time goes on if you're in the right spot. And I'm always an advocate, if you're not in the right spot, that it's okay to change, And I could probably get you some really good recommendations, actually, for your area.
That would be nice. Because I do know, because we live in Madison, which is outside of the city of Huntsville, and there's only one hospital in Madison, and we actually live on the same road as that hospital and my OBGYN office. The office that I currently go to is a minute away from me, and the hospital's 2 minutes away from me. And just the convenience of that being so close alone was the main reason why I decided to stay with this clinic rather than going to somewhere into Huntsville, because then that's having to drive into the city and for all of my appointments. And so I was just I wanted to stay in Madison, but again, if they're not, supporting me in my decisions, then obviously I will. I definitely feel I know that I will be able to be a very strong advocate for myself, because I know what I want and I'm confident in my abilities. And I know what's allowed and what's not allowed. And so if they're not able to accommodate to me and support my decisions, then I will absolutely have no problem going to another clinic. No problem at all.
And that's the thing. You need to be somewhere where you feel like it's a partnership and there's a trust between the two of you, because there are times you want to take their expertise. They're basically your hired, consultants. You're consulting with their expertise, and, you have your goals and your wants and wishes, and then they have their area of expertise. And, if there's something going on or something that needs medical attention or something that you need, then you want to have that trust that you can, trust what they're saying to be evidence-based and accurate. And
absolutely. And hiring a midwife to have a home birth is also still not off of my plate. It is still something that I'm still considering. I just need to know, I need to know my research about who can provide that for me, and how much is that going to cost. My insurance will cover 100% for a non-medicated birth. Will cover up to 100% of the birth. So I won't have to come out of pocket any money for it.
In hospital or out of hospital, or both?
Hospital.
In hospital.
Okay. I think it's just in hospital. The contract that I got from my current OB office said that it covered up to 100%. The only thing that I would have to come out of pocket for were the the Pitocin, the epidural, if I needed a C-section, all the other medical interventions. If I needed that, then I'd have to come out of pocket that. But other than that, my insurance should cover 100% of the visit from what they told me and what I've done my research on my insurance plan. But at the same token, I would love nothing more than to have a home delivery. Like hospitals, even like they're clean, they're not clean, like they're gross. I worked in a hospital. Like I know the hospitals are not like completely sanitary. A lot of infections you can get, so many infections from being in a hospital, and you get at hospital stays. And if I could avoid it and I could have a home delivery, I would absolutely have a home delivery.
Well, absolutely. I know some amazing midwives, that's for sure. Yeah, really good, really like people that I would send my daughter to, and you're like one of my daughters. I'll reach out to some colleagues too and see, who else we might know as far as being kind of natural birth friendly in the area. And
I was like, I do know that Huntsville has like a doula.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a place with doulas already. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're probably familiar. You come up here to train classes. But I feel like they do have like a pretty big doula community here. Mm-hmm. I haven't reached out to anybody just because I always thought that you were going to be my doula.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to reach out to some of my doulas. I actually already have looking for a midwife. I think I asked for, so I'll dive deeper into that, and then we'll circle back and see, because it is important that you're with the right provider in the right setting so that you feel safe. Uriah feels safe. This little baby needs to be safe, and so we want to make sure that you're well taken care of and that you feel comfortable, because the more comfortable you are, the less anxiety you'll have.
Absolutely. And I would much rather feel comfortable here or home rather than inside a hospital environment. Like I know that already with the monitoring and them coming in and bothering me and not letting me eat. And I just know that I would feel more comfortable being at home, but I don't know if it's 100% feasible for our situation.
Right.
I mean, again, we do have a huge support system, and it freaks Uriah out, the idea of having like a home birth. He's like, why are we having a home birth? Like, are you supposed to be at a hospital when you do this? And I was just like, you don't have to be at a hospital. You can definitely have a baby at home and have a midwife and be monitored, but still be, in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, and I think the important thing about out-of-hospital birth is that in the state of Florida, for sure, it is completely legal, and they typically only take the healthiest of pregnancies. So if somebody was high risk, or if there's actually a point system that they use to accept or risk out someone. And the other thing about that you could always tell Uriah as he's learning some of these options is that not only do they take your different things that are going on with your health, and then they assess those for, are you a low risk, healthy person to be able to have an out-of-hospital birth, but they watch you as every time you come in, they do all the same screenings. You pee in the cup, they're watching your blood pressure. And if something comes up in the pregnancy, in the labor, before labor, at the end of pregnancy, the ones that I know have a really good relationship with an OB. Or more than one OBs. I always say, let's level up if we need to. And good midwives are going to have a really good transfer plan. They know exactly who they'll go to. That doctor has agreed to take their patients with grace and, will care for them just as if they had been their own patients the whole time. It's actually a really nice partnership. And then you know that you have that ability. Those midwives are watching for anything that doesn't seem normal. They know how to handle situations. If emergencies come up, they know what to do, and they know how to get you in to be with somebody who have a higher level of care if you need it. I have a lot of respect for the work that they do. And I think you have to be in the place you want to be, and you have some time to figure that out. I actually had a client once who mom wanted to have a birth out of the hospital, but partner was not really comfortable with it. And they ended up choosing not to, just because she wanted the partner to be really comfortable. And so sometimes that happens too. And you guys you'll kind of work through that, as time goes on. Do you think that having me as a doula growing up, and then your mom was a doula a little bit too, do you think that has influenced your view on how you want to birth?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I would always be more like a natural person, but I definitely feel like, especially with how we were raised with you guys and even like assisting you in that class, like just knowing that our bodies are 1010% capable of doing this, like I know that I'm capable of this. And so I just feel like that definitely, seeing it and knowing that it was a normal thing, like birthing babies in the middle of the hallway when we're 10 years old is absolutely not abnormal for me to think about. But for somebody who doesn't have, an aunt and a mom who are doulas, that's totally weird for them. But just being so normal about pregnancy and giving birth, I just feel like it's something that I was never really a decision for me. It was just always something I've always planned on doing. I've always had the idea of doing a natural delivery.
Yeah. I remember you guys in the hallway birthing babies. I mean, you guys, you were little, but it was adorable. And what I love about this and what I'm hearing from you, it's just this confidence that sometimes I don't hear from newly pregnant families. I love hearing this, like, I was made for this. I can do this. I still have a little fear, which is normal, but you have an outlook that is really nice and refreshing. I wish more people came into birth just saying, I'm confident I can birth my baby. There's actually an activity that I do sometimes in doula training where we have this poster and it says, I'm confident I can birth my baby. Mm-hmm. So the activity basically just takes you through, like, this is how we want people to come into birth, really confident and feeling good about, their own abilities. But then there's so many things that happen in their lifetime that diminishes their confidence. And eventually, if there's enough tears in the piece of paper, it really does make you question your own ability. And what I'm liking that I'm hearing from you is that you're feeling, confident in this moment as you're getting ready, and you have time to get your heart and soul and think about some of those fears and kind of work through those. And so I think as we look at the months ahead, we'll check in and see how you're feeling on this. Are you feeling more confident? Are you feeling less? Is the fear getting more as you get closer? Are you feeling more at peace? All of those things too. So that's pretty neat. What are you most looking forward to with the pregnancy?
Oh, my big belly. I can't wait to start showing. I'm going to be dressing so cute, showing off my belly. I'm going to let everybody know that I'm pregnant. I cannot wait for once the baby starts showing. I've already, I know the top part of my stomach has already gotten a little bit bigger. I know that that's just bloating, but the top part of my stomach has gotten firmer. And I just can't wait for the whole thing to start getting rounder. I'm very excited for the belly.
I'm excited to see your belly. And you're going to have a summer belly, so you get to wear bathing suits and all that fun stuff. Whenever I had my babies, you wore tents when you were pregnant, like these big muumuu shirts that just kind of draped over you. So it wasn't really trendy to wear clothes that showed the belly. And so we always just looked like big tents. It's so exciting to me that now in pregnancy, it's much more normal to kind of wear normal clothes. I mean, you can wear tank tops and leggings and all things, and it's okay if you're, wearing things that show your belly a little bit differently than the way it was when I was pregnant with my kids. That's cool. So that was the thing that you're most looking forward to. What are you most concerned about, or what are you least looking forward to?
Well, I will say, being completely transparent, my BMI is high. And so I've already, when I went in for my 8-week ultrasound and my 8-week visit, I already did the glucose test and it was fine. Everything came back fine. I am worried about in the future, getting gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about that and feet swelling just because, I don't know, I have to walk a lot. So I already started wearing compression socks and everything. So when I go to work, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's a good thing to build off of. I always say, your baby is going to take what your baby needs out of your body and you get what's left. So, eating as good as you can, enjoy Frosty every now and again because you are pregnant. But just remembering that if there's not enough calcium for the baby, they're taking it from you and your bones. So making sure that you're taking care of yourself really well over this time is that will help. And, we'll cross the bridges when we get to them, right?
Absolutely.
They happen. So is there anything at this point early on, 9 weeks, that you feel like you're, lacking as far as education, or is there anything you're you feel like you want to learn more about, or are you just kind of taking it day by day and just going with the flow at this point?
I mean, I will say with my insurance, I have access to the Baby Yourself app. And it's basically, it's another tracking app. But with that also comes access to a nurse. So any questions I have, hey, can I eat this food? Or, hey, I've noticed some bleeding. Is that normal? I just can call her anytime and she'll answer and she'll let me know. I've had to call her a couple of times. And so I feel like that's been another thing that's been helping me prepare, knowing that I have support that can help me. as well as they also send like a care package too. And I got to pick like a couple of they gave me like a little goodie bag, and it gave me a book. So I feel like it's been a mix of me like trying to prepare myself, but then again, just also knowing too that like everything happens for a reason. My body's designed for this, and eventually everything will lead how it's supposed to go. So I've just been taking it day by day, but then also preparing as well for anything I may have concerns about or what to expect. I've been reading the week by week thing about how my baby's developing and just all the symptoms I've been experiencing, making sure that they're all normal. And I will say to you, with all the symptoms I've been experiencing, like with like the old wives' tales, every single one of them has been pointing to boy, like between like the cravings, the no nausea, the skin clarity, even like my wedding ring, like over my belly button, like, or over my belly, like every single one of them pointing to boy.
Are you going to get the blood work from the doctor's office for a gender reveal, or are you going to do ultrasound for that? What are you going to do?
So my plan was at 10 or whatever weeks, you can do the NIPT genetic testing. We were planning on doing it. And then I read something about with the higher BMI, they can't get enough blood volume, and then they can't perform the test. And the test is already expensive. Like, it's not actually as expensive as I thought it was going to be. When I called with my insurance, it was like $250 to do it. And then they test for like Down syndrome and a couple of other tests as well. And then they also do gender. We were planning on just having the sneak peek gender test, which we did at 6 weeks, and then this one to confirm it before we like officially announced it.
Yeah.
So I don't know yet what we're going to do. I'll talk to my doctor about it. We go back next month, though.
Yeah. Those are sometimes we call them tough choices for parents. You got to figure out like what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. I can't believe my doula baby's having a baby. This is pretty exciting. Just remembering back, as we always do when these big milestones happen, but remembering back to when you were just a little teeny tiny squishy little baby. And now you're going to bring us another one. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
And I'm excited that you were willing to come on and talk to the other doulas in this space. And that's mostly who will be listening to the podcast are doulas, a lot of doulas who have come through my workshops. And with the podcast, my goal is that I highlight all of the people in my circles and colleagues and the amazing and wonderful things that they're doing. And I just could not miss this opportunity to connect with you, because what are the chances like that my first ever doula baby that I talk about in my workshop sometimes, because people want to know, how did you get into this work? And so some of the folks that will be listening have heard me talk about when you were born and the sun shining and the birds chirping. And it was, 6 o'clock in the morning. You were born at like 6 a.m., right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was
6:08, I think.
6 o'clock in the morning. Your mom was such a champion. It was just such a beautiful experience all around. Even your grandma was there. Your grandpa was there. It was a room full of love. Dad, everybody. And so it was a pretty cool experience for her to invite me in to be a part of, and which obviously changed my life, because here I am, doing this work. So pretty cool. So we're going to keep up with you maybe in a couple months. Are you looking forward to any milestones coming up in the next several weeks?
I'm ready for the bump to start showing. So once the bump starts showing, then I'll be excited. I don't know what other milestones I have to look forward to. I mean, I'm not having like any like bad symptoms of pregnancy. So like, it's not really like, I don't care about getting out of the first trimester to get rid of those nasty pregnancy symptoms. So I'm just here along for the ride. I'm absolutely happy. I'm just tired all the time. I guess that'd be the only reason I'd be excited to get out of the first trimester, to get out of this milestone, just because I'm not so tired all the time, taking 2 naps in the afternoon because I'm so tired.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell everyone in my childbirth class. Today, you grew a heart and lungs and a brain and kidneys, and you are doing really hard work. So if you need to take the extra nap, then take the extra nap. You deserve it.
I'm doing very hard work.
Yeah, you are. And you tell Uriah that I said that too.
Oh, he's very understanding and very, 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 very supportive of this and the pregnancy, and supporting me and my salty food cravings, and the fact that I only want to eat Publix subs and Philly cheesesteaks. He's been along for the ride for all of it.
That's
so
good.
He's been very amazing.
He's going to be a great dad too.
He's going to be a fantastic dad.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch you grow, literally and figuratively. It's going to be a fun ride. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited.